Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Serekunda. This is Star TV News with me, Dada Cham. In the headlines tonight, Minister of Health addresses public on health situation in the Gambia. Former Director General of NIA appears before TRRC. WHO commemorates World AIDS Day. National Health Insurance Scheme Bill presented before Parliament. Youth Empowerment Project presents 2 kits to its students on the international scene. Arts installation captures US debt toll. Should the death penalty be abolished worldwide? Tigray conflict, Ethiopian government threatened attack on Mekelle. Those were the headlines, now the news in details. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Samate, this afternoon in his office in Banjul gave an update on the COVID-19 situation in the Gambia and the strategies taken by his ministry.
In the Gambia, since the first reported case on the 16th of March 2020, the country has now recorded 3,728 confirmed positive COVID-19 cases. So far, there have been 3,588 recoveries and 123 deaths. There are currently 13 active cases and no person is in quarantine. Unfortunately, 4 individuals recently confirmed as positive cases absconded to Senegal. Since March, a total of 24,630 tests have been conducted, and we have not slowed down our testing. On the contrary, we are increasing our testing day by day. In fact, this month alone, we have conducted over 3,000 tests. For the past month, the ministry has reported the fewest number of cases since July, a downward trend we are hoping to see continue, even though we continue to scale up our testing efforts. The past few days has seen a small increase in the number of cases compared to the last few weeks. This we are monitoring very closely, and we remind everyone that there is no room for complacency, even though the number of positive cases is small.
The Minister of Health also said that the ministry received information from health officials from Senegal that more than 500 fishermen in Senegal have skin manifestation after returning from deep sea, in which 2 Gambians were intercepted by health officials for developing similar symptoms.
The ministry has received information from health officials in Senegal that more than 500 fishermen in Senegal have skin manifestations after returning from deep sea. These are dermatitis associated with some infectious diseases. The lesions appear on the face, extremities, and the genitals, with associated headache and fever. We have been very vigilant. The relevant units had series of meetings to assess the situation, are in touch with the Senegalese authorities for any further developments. Following the guidelines, Our public health officials intercepted 2 Gambian fishermen returning from Senegal 2 days ago at the Amdalai border post with similar symptoms. The 2 are currently at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, where they are receiving medical attention. Meanwhile, the ministry appeals to the general public to visit authorized facilities for their health service provision and also be vigilant in observing any of the signs and symptoms mentioned.
Former Director General of NIA Lamin Bobaji on Thursday testified before the True Reconciliation and Reparation Commission. His testimony was centered on many things, among which were prior to his appointment as the Director General: how he operated the National Intelligence Agency, how he was unlawfully dismissed, as well as his subsequent arrest and death sentence. Binta Koli files in this report.
Lamin Bobaji, who once served as the boss of the dismantled NIA, was questioned at the TRRC. Many believe the institution went beyond what it was assigned to do, as it helped ex-President Yahya Jammeh in his human rights violations that occurred in the country from 1994 to 2016. In a lengthy testimony, he gave a brief explanation of his first encounter with the NIA and how he demanded answers from them for the torture of one Sam Kambai, a man in uniform.
Yes, there were some bits of blood on his body, but what one can recognize was that some parts of his body were swollen and some parts were bruised and so on.
To call it by its proper name, it appeared to you that he may have been tortured.
Yes, he was tortured. I agree to that.
And how did you feel when you saw this?
Because I became very unhappy because it looked to me that it was done to me myself.
And as a result, did you say or do anything?
They themselves knew that this thing has really pained me. Because I didn't think somebody who is serving in uniform will be treated like that.
How did you react? Did you say anything? Did you do anything?
Yes.
Tell us.
I questioned.
Who did you ask? And what did you ask?
The man who is leading the whole thing.
Tell us who you spoke to and what you said.
I asked Alaji Moore and said, what has happened?
And by Alaji Moore, you are referring to Idrissa Job.
Yes.
And then?
What
did you ask him?
I asked him, what caused this?
Did he respond at all?
Yes.
What did he say?
The fucking people to milk weapon and arms and ammunition on Wafi rebel. What he replied to me was that these are, sorry for the language, these are the fucking people who sell arms and ammunition to the rebels.
Baji, who took over from Benedict Jammeh in August 2008, believed he was appointed as the DG of the NIA because of his work and experience in the field. Nonetheless, lead counsel Esa Fall put it to him that the courses and trainings he did in the past did not warrant him to hold such a position. He said his intention after his appointment was to make sure that he brought changes to the institution or leave the office. He added he knew even before his appointment that the NIA was used to violate the rights of people as they were tortured and detained there. Mr. Baji denied the unlawful detention of 50 individuals during his term in office. He said he was not aware of all the 50 individuals, and he admitted that he never checked the book that contained the name of detainees.
Your 1 year tenure at the NIA, a minimum of 50 people were detained unlawfully. Do you agree? I'm not aware.
The ex-DG alleged that he was dismissed, later arrested and tortured for being involved in a coup. He added that he was called to lie against former CDS Langton Bontamba. After refusing, he was taken to court and sentenced to death. According to him, after appealing, his case was given a life sentence. His release came through a presidential pardon. For Star TV News, I am Binta Kuli.
On 1st December every year, the world commemorates World AIDS Day. People around the world unite to show a support for people living with and affected by HIV and AIDS, as well as to remember those who lost their lives to AIDS. Yamundao Koko has more.
Earlier today, the World Health Organization, in collaboration with the National AIDS Secretariat, held a press briefing to commemorate World AIDS Day. The day is set aside to reflect and celebrate the achievements in the AIDS response and to recommit to ending AIDS by 2030. Sira Horejandau, the United Nations AIDS Country Director, said in 2020 the world's attention has focused on the COVID-19 pandemic and how the pandemic has affected lives, livelihoods and health systems. She furthered that COVID-19 is threatening the progress that the world has made in health and development over the past 20 years. Including the gains that have made against HIV. It is widening the inequalities that already existed: gender inequality, racial inequality, social and economic inequalities. Despite this, she added that during the recent World AIDS Day, they celebrated the enormous efforts made by the HIV movement in mobilizing to defend their progress, to protect people living with HIV and other vulnerable groups, as well as push the coronavirus back.
Whether campaigning for multi-month dispensing of HIV treatment, organizing home deliveries of medicines, or providing finance assistance, food and shelter to vulnerable groups, HIV activists and communities have again shown they are the mainstay of the HIV response. We salute you all. It is the strength within these communities, inspired by shared responsibility to each other, that has contributed in great part to our victories over HIV. Today, we need this strength more than ever to beat the colliding epidemics of HIV and COVID-19.
She prolonged that this year the theme of World AIDS Day is global solidarity, shared responsibility, and COVID-19 has demonstrated that during a pandemic, no one is safe until everyone is safe. She declared that leaving people behind is not an option if they are to succeed. Usman Baji, the director of National AIDS Secretariat, added that the event used to be in a form of a light conference, but this year, due to COVID-19, they decided to scale down their activities as far as World AIDS Day is concerned.
All over the world, the encouragement is if you can do things differently without having to gather people, a large crowd of people for a long time, that's what is preferable. And we know each time we organize an event like a conference for World AIDS Day, a greater percentage of the attendants usually are people coming from the community of those living with HIV. You can't organize a large conference without them. And there are indications that due to their immune system, they are one of the high-risk group as far as COVID is concerned. So it doesn't make sense for us to organize a large conference, call people who are part of the high-risk group to attend for hours. So we decided that together with the Ministry of Health, that we should make it in the form of a press conference.
Usman Baji added that the theme for this year is very significant as AIDS is still real, and as a country, they continue to engage the key stakeholders under the call for global solidarity and shared responsibility to make sure that they continue to provide treatment services, prevention, care and support as far as HIV is concerned. In this spirit, The 2020 World AIDS Report launched on Thursday by the United Nations AIDS Executive Director, Ms. Winnie Mbanyima, prevails against pandemic by putting people at the center. For Star TV News, I am Yamonda Okoka.
The 15th session of the Inter-Ministerial Press Conference, coordinated by the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure, was held today to highlight the scheme bill presented before the Parliament. Hadija files in this report.
As part of efforts to repeal the last set of prohibitive legacy laws enacted by the former government, specifically targeting the media and media practitioners, the Ministry of Information and Infrastructure has tabled before the National Assembly the Information and Communication Amendment Bill 2020 for considering the enactment. The bill, which seeks to create the enabling environment for freedom of expression and media development in the Gambia, was formulated through the exhaustive consultative process where a media law review committee was set up by the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and Article 19 in 2018. The bill seeks to repeal all the sections of IC Act which were mentioned in May 2018 Supreme Court rulings and as clauses designed by the former government to suppress freedom of expression. The IC Amendment Bill currently before the National Assembly is meant to further strengthen Gambia's democracy, as it will support the domestication of international laws by repealing provisions that are inconsistent with international standards, thereby enhancing the Gambian's conformity of international standards, treaties and conventions to which it is signatory. The Honorable Minister of Health has this week presented the much-awaited National Health Insurance Scheme Bill before Parliament. The National Health Insurance Scheme aims to help reduce the burden of out-of-pocket expenditure by patients and to protect households from the high spending. The bill establishes a National Health Insurance Authority to implement a health insurance scheme, with a fund which will pay for the cost of healthcare services of the members of the scheme. In addition, provisions are made for a private health insurance scheme. The effort by the government to establish a National Health Insurance Scheme is hailed as a significant milestone to ensure citizens have access to effective health care within the health delivery system. Persons under 5 years of age, pensioners, categories of persons living with disability, persons with mental illness, persons above the age of 65, persons in need of antenatal delivery and postnatal health service are exempted from payment of contributions under the National Health Insurance Scheme. For Star TV News, I am Hadija.
The Youth Empowerment Project under International Trade Center in collaboration with 7 skill training institutions on Friday presented toolkits to 157 of its graduate-sponsored students in different fields. As Mariam Adem reports, the presentation is aimed at supporting the self-employment drive of the youths in various fields.
The beneficiaries studied different fields in various skills centers, including Inside Training Center and Fajara Skills Center under the Youth Empowerment Project funded by the European Union. These youths are, however, either employed or self-employed after obtaining their trainings. The toolkits include recorders, cameras, hair steaming machines, among other things including construction and plumbing materials. The presentation came as a result of a significant proportion of the trainees' intentions to put their skills into practice by opting for self-employment and starting their own businesses. Modu Ture, Yep Focal Point, says they provided the materials to improve or provide self-employment to the beneficiaries.
A handing over of toolkits to some of those youths who will still find it difficult to find employment, to help them in their self-employment drive. With the toolkits, they are able to employ themselves. They can be freelance technicians. They can earn a living by utilizing those tools to undertake the skills they have been trained in. That is all the reasoning behind giving these toolkits. So it's for I want us to note that we are not able to give toolkits to every student that has graduated, because doing that means we also will not be able to train more students. So we have to strike a compromise of giving a percentage of the graduating students to enable us to be able to train more people as well.
The CEO of Fajara Skills Center, Ms. Jane Abel Thomas, and the principal of Insight Training Center, Ismaila Sise, thanked YEP and its partners for such support, saying the project has enabled them to train youths of the country to obtain skills that will help them in building their careers.
I want to say a big thank you to the European Union Emergency Trust Fund for Africa through the Youth Empowerment Project for this initiative. This has really helped TVET institutions so that they can build capacity and up their standards.
It's a great honor today and also a pleasure that at Insight we did not regret choosing some of you. At the interview date, it was over 600 students that applied when we had to train 130. And today, out of the 130, 124 graduated successfully. And all those 124 are either employed or self-employed. In fact, today, the testimony is I can recognize almost 7 journalists are here representing different media houses who were part of the project. And they are not only participating as representatives, but they are covering on behalf of their institution.
Lamin Dafe, on behalf of the Ministry of Trade, says providing employment space for youths is one of their main priorities. He further added that the support is timely as he thanked YEP for such initiative.
So this training could not have come at a better time because it will actually help the government of the Gambia in its aspiration to actually provide trainings to young people to be able to get them in the labor market to actually participate in the socio-economic development of the Gambia. So with this support from YEP, through the International Trade Center, we are very much grateful because such a partnership is very needed because the government cannot do it alone. We need partners from the private sector, from the international organizations, from development partners to be able to chip in terms of providing resources so that we can get our youths busy in terms of economic development.
Fatoumata Marena, a beneficiary, thanked YEP for enabling her to realize her potentials and contributing in her life success story as she recalled how she got to create her own business piece.
First of all, I would like to thank YEP for being so generous for sponsoring my education from the year 2018 to 2019. It meant a lot to me and improved me in my field of study, which was the culinary art. After my 3 months in school, I went for attachment at Palmarimo Beach Hotel and spent 3 months. Then later came back to the school for another 3 months and which made it 9 months of training. After my training, I was not working simply because of the concept of whom you know and not what you know, which is a great effect in our society. So I said to myself, if I have the skills, why not I do it on my own? So I was motivated by my school principal Mrs. Jean Thomas, and my mom, who motivated me to go on my own. So I went around looking for a good location to start up my own business, which was very difficult for me. Alhamdulillah, the Gambia Red Cross Society, they allowed me to place my caravan beside their fence. After I got the location, I went to KMC, registered my business, and started my own. And alhamdulillah, I employed one Gambian who was not trained, but I trained that person, and So all I have to say is thank you, YEP, Abaraka, Jarama, Jerengenjef, and Nuare.
The Youth Empowerment Project is an EU-funded flagship project of the Republic of the Gambia implemented by the International Trade Center in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment and the Ministry of Youth and Sports with the objective to improve skills, create jobs and generate income for Gambian youths. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
Those were the local stories. We will be back with international news after the short break.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
And now beyond our borders. More than 260 people have died of COVID-19 in the United States. As the number keeps increasing, an artist sought to humanize the statistic through an arts installation. As Al Jazeera Nastar Corps report, the site in Washington, D.C. has also become a space for mourning.
The wind and flapping of the flags create a kind of meditative music. The sun and shadows dance across their mostly blank surfaces. Each of these shin-high memorials marks a COVID-19 death to be counted, a heartbreak to be remembered.
This is an opportunity to consider what has happened to us as a nation. This isn't America. This is not the America I grew up in. We're now the greatest country on earth because of our COVID deaths.
Suzanne Brennan Furstenberg created and financed the art installation In America. How could this happen? The white flags are intended to represent the purity of those who died. She says they also signify the government's surrender when it comes to its response to the pandemic.
We need to think about being American as looking out for the common good and looking out for each other. This pandemic offers us a pivot point to rethink who we are and what we want to be.
On this day, Natalie Carter came with a handful of her students. The teacher planted a flag in honor of her aunt Anoa Merritt, who died 2 months ago. The family was unable to hold a funeral due to pandemic restrictions.
But this is a memorial ceremony, and it's huge. There's so many people that drive by here every day, and to know what each one of these flags represent, that is a memorial. She won't be forgotten. She's not just another person that contracted COVID and passed away.
Brennan Furstenberg is exploring creating another work of art with these flags. A portion of the installation will be preserved at the Smithsonian Museum. But the artist says what nags at her is the moral responsibility she has to those who die from COVID-19 after this memorial is dismantled at the end of November. You are my sunshine. You always found a way to help others, are among the messages written on the flags. A few even have photographs. But the most common expression of grief is, "We miss you." Natasha Ganem, Al Jazeera, Washington, D.C.
Although the death penalty has been abolished in much of the world, it still carries out in at least 54 countries. Now, the U.S. Justice Department has now allowed more methods, and last week the U.S. was one of the 39 countries that rejected a UN resolution for the moratorium and capital punishment. So while is the death penalty still favored in many places? Imran Khan reports.
Decades, the US has used lethal injections to execute those convicted of certain crimes. But the Justice Department has now allowed more methods, including firing squad and electrocution. The US Constitution, however, strictly bans what it describes as cruel and unusual punishment. Rights groups accused the Trump administration of rushing to execute 5 inmates before the president's term ends in January. Last week, the US was one of 39 countries that rejected a UN resolution for a moratorium on capital punishment. But with 120 votes in favour, the General Assembly is expected to adopt the measure next month. The UN Secretary General has said the death penalty has no place in the 21st century. Now, Amnesty International says more than 26,600 people are known to be on death row around the world. It recorded at least 657 executions in 20 countries last year. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq and Egypt accounted for more than 86% of all capital punishment last year. The US is ranked 6th of the total number of executions with 22. But rights groups say that China is the world's biggest executioner, with thousands believed to be killed every year. Beijing doesn't release death penalty figures.
In Newtown, Ethiopia, after nearly 3 weeks of fighting, a deadly imposed by the government for Tigrayan forces for surrounding is set to expire in just a matter of hours. The federal army has surrendered Tigrayan capital, Mekelle, and it's threatening the use of artillery on the city of 500,000 people. Tigrayan leaders deny claims their fighters have begun surrendering. Al Jazeera Hassan Razi reports from Tigray.
On the Raya front line in southern Tigray, federal reinforcements arrive and helicopters hover above. The Ethiopian government has maintained that this is a law enforcement operation against what it calls a treasonous group.
Our morale is high. We're ready to enforce the rule of law for the sake of the fallen. We will prevail over those who had betrayed them. We have another mission, namely to safeguard the Renaissance Dam until it's fully completed and operational.
This building has been set up to receive fighters from the Tigray People's Liberation Front who've surrendered ahead of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Wednesday deadline for the TPLF to put down its weapons. Government forces here say this man was among those who surrendered.
We are being treated well. We are not enemies. We are all fellow Ethiopians. We are all brothers. I hope this war will come to an end and peace prevail across the country.
As fighting continues in northern Ethiopia for a third consecutive week, the TPLF leader has reiterated his rejection of the ultimatum and says his fighters will continue their struggle against the federal government until the end. On the other side of the battlefield in Mekelle, the TPLF says it's standing its ground and that its fighters are ready to die defending Tigray and its right to govern itself. There are conflicting claims of victory on both sides, and a communication blackout in the region makes it difficult to verify information. But Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has said this operation will end when the TPLF, who he accuses of destabilizing the country and undermining his leadership, are brought to justice. Hassan Razak, Tigray Province in northern Ethiopia.
Before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Minister of Health addresses public on health situation in the Gambia. Former Director General of NIA appears before TRRC. WHO commemorates World AIDS Day. National Health Insurance Scheme Bill presented before Parliament. Youth Empowerment Project presents toolkits to its students on the international scene. Arts installation captures US debt tool. Should the death penalty be abolished worldwide? Tigray conflict, Ethiopian government threatened attack on Mekelle. That's all for this edition of the news. Thank you for watching and join us for tomorrow's news.